All right, all right, all right. All right, hey, let's get right into it. The environment, do not be scared, all right, because you might actually be missing something that can be advantageous to your Logic Pro power user experience. For all of you who know what we're doing, know what we're up to, we are on page, in effect, 911. And look, I'm looking forward to this session. One, to demystify the complexity that is the environment, but moreover, I like to spend time with you. I want to spend time with you. And we're on the last leg here, guys. So if you haven't caught now, final opportunity to get on board to become a Logic Pro powered user. In just a couple of weeks, we have some free courses coming out that are going to change and revolutionize your experience when it comes to Logic Pro. And I look forward to having you check those out. If you're interested, you want a pre-board, you want to get those classes in advance, go ahead and email us at support@hfmusicacademy.com. We'll get you registered. We'll get you ready so you can receive 10 free courses. That's right, 10 free courses from hfmusicacademy.com. With that being said, you know it's time to get right into it. So let's do an overview of the environment in Logic Pro. The environment refers to the virtual environment of Logic Pro inside your computer. It provides a virtual view of your MIDI studio, giving you complete control over your MIDI setup. It includes the following objects. So we've now entered the dungeon of Logic Pro, and in the belly of the beast, we have these specific objects. You ready? All right, go ahead and write this down. Physical input and sequencer input objects. All right, so we're not gonna get intimidated, right? Physical input, right? That's number one, and sequencer input. Now, what does this mean? All right, we have the physical MIDI inputs of your MIDI interface, if you have one, and the Logic Pro input. Okay, so MIDI interface, Logic Pro input. The sequencer, that's where all the information goes so we can listen back to the information in Logic. All right, what else do we have? Instrument objects, virtual representations of each MIDI device, synthesizers and samplers in your MIDI rig. All right, so no longer are we just talking about the controller and the sequencer input, or if you want to think about it like the tracks area where everything's going in, but we also have these virtual MIDI devices that are going to be represented in the environment. Finally, faders, knobs, switches, and other objects. These are used to create new data or to control and modify the MIDI signal flow in real time. As you may have remembered in one of the previous sessions, we actually created one of these faders and we were literally slowing down and increasing the tempo of our song by means of a fader. It was pretty rad. Check it out. Backlog. It's not essential to know about or even open the environment in order to make music with Logic Pro or your external MIDI sound generators and keyboards, which, by the way, I don't have one here, so we will not be using that. I'm mostly in the box with few exceptions. When you create new instrument or external MIDI tracks, Logic Pro automatically generates these. So in the past, believe it or not, before I follow through here, we used to have to create the objects inside of the environment and then inside the tracks area. So when anybody tried to learn Logic Pro, I think this is version 8 and before that, it was really complicated because you really had to understand routing. You really had to understand signal flow. Now we're so spoiled / blessed because all of this is just happening for us. When we go into the new tracks dialog, Option Command N, right, we get that nice little window there, and you're either selecting audio, software instrument, or drummer, and then all of a sudden you're home free, like you're ready to go. But what's happening in the background is that Logic is generating this in the background for you, right? Creates and configures any environment objects that are needed for basic input and output. There's so many hacks that you can do, so many great things that can happen in the environment. So I'm happy to, at the very least, introduce you to the rudiments of the environment. Note, this is also true of audio channel strips and other channel strip types such as auxes and output channel strips, right? So those differ. You've got audio channel strips, but you also have a different kind of channel strip in aux and output channel strips. But you rarely need to access these objects in the environment, as you have full control over these channel strips in the mixer. Okay, cool. So now we're understanding that there's something happening in the background. And even though you don't necessarily have to understand it, it's probably not a bad idea just to go through a crash course and just get your hands wet a little bit. All right, so let me bring you in here. Hopefully you guys are all well. Happy Monday. Stay up, stay happy, and keep pushing. Get those reps in so we can get better. Let's get going here. All right, let me take you in. Let's go. Open the environment window. All right, how do we open that? You can go into the main menu bar here and select Open MIDI Environment, or you can hit that key command, Command 0. Now, what I should probably do, could be wrong about this, maybe I'll just resize it this way, is I'm going to create two screens. So we'll be looking at the tracks area on the left-hand side, and then I'll hit Command 0. I'll drag this guy in, resize it just like that. All right, and you can have multiple environments if you want to. Maybe I'll set up one more. All right, just to have it down here. So I've got 3 screens at the moment. Let me make sure, yeah, you guys are looking what I'm looking at. Beautiful. All right, so this is going to be our setup. This is how we're going to learn this portion of the program. Highly recommend you take notes. Highly recommend that you practice along and apply everything that we're going to work with, okay? I too am new to all this, and so this is perfect because you get to learn with somebody, right? No judgment, just open. We're gonna crank, and we're gonna work on this, and we're gonna conquer, okay? All right, so we're gonna use the show hide environment key command. Just did that. All right. Let's check out the parameters inside the Logic Pro environment. So something I want to make clear, basically, to demystify this, there's really only 3 areas that you can look at. Okay, so we have the layer, which is right here. All right. After the layer, you have the inspector, which is right here, and you can open that up by hitting that disclosure triangle. And then finally, you have the primary area, this workspace here, and connected to it, of course, are the tools, primary, secondary, link, MIDI out, and finally, the local menu. So this would include various options to help you navigate this workspace. Okay, so when I select, let's say, software instrument track number 1, you can see that selection is kind of highlighted and mirrored inside of the environment. Now, please remember that originally it all starts in the environment, and then it kind of shows up in the track header here in Logic. So just to be clear, kind of how and why this is happening. So on the left-hand side, we're looking at the car with the polish and the rims and, you know, spinning rims, what have you. And on the right-hand side, we're looking at the hood, right? The engine, what makes up the makings of that car, right? V4, V8, V12, all that good stuff. So this is what we're looking at. All right, let's, I guess one more thing to add. In the layer category, this is where we find all of our various menu sets to understand and work through the MIDI environment. We can rename layers, we can create new layers, and we'll be doing that and more in this session. For now, the one at the top will be the mixer. The one in the bottom will be clicks and ports, which you're going to be visiting quite a lot anyway, so I might as well bring this up now. So let's check this out. You got the physical input on the left-hand side. What you're looking at is my MIDI interface. I have a I connect MIDI, I connect 4, I think it is. And so this is how I connect all my gear into my system. All of that is being read by the input notes, right? So when I play something and I don't have anything selected right now, maybe I should instantiate Alchemy or something. Yeah, let's do that right now. Okay, so when I play something, that's all coming from, let me hide this V. That's all coming from here, right? So I've got this controller connected, and when I play it, it's being read through the input notes here. And then here's a view so we can see the note, the range or octave, and then the velocity. And then finally, all of that's going into the sequencer input. There's a lot you can do here. Again, my primary aim is just to give you the most basic version of this so it's palatable and perhaps so that it can help you A, either troubleshoot and or B, creative. All right, each environment object has several parameters. You can view and change these parameters in the object inspector, which we talked about here. Right? You can open that up by means of the disclosure triangle. So that can be located right there. Let me see if I could do something here. Yes. Okay, cool. All right. Name appears to next to the disclosure triangle. You can edit it if you want to by clicking on it. You can also edit the name by clicking the object with the text tool. All right. So if you want to change the name of something, utilize that text tool by means of the primary or secondary tool. That'll get you going. Icon represents the object in the environment, and main window can be changed by clicking it. So if you want to change this icon for whatever reason, you can click on it, do so inside of here. And just a quick side note, if you didn't know, you can create custom icons inside of Logic Pro. Again, another phenomenal feature. You can have a picture of whatever and bring it into your session. So that's pretty rad. Okay. So we've got the name, the icon, and something called the assignable checkbox. Makes the object visible in the reassign track shortcut menu. So we actually have the ability to change and reassign different channel strips in Logic Pro. This is useful for instrument objects, but can also be useful for other objects such as touch tracks and chord memorizers. So this is something that is unique to this part of the program as well. You can create touch tracks and chord memorizers. So hopefully we can figure those out. The inspector can be opened by means of the local menu, or you can press the key Command I. So let's go ahead and try that out. Key focus is in the environment. Because I clicked it, I'll hit I. That opens up the inspector. Same goes up here. All right, let's carry on. You know what? I'm going to resize this window. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, workflow, guys, workflow. And then you know what? Just to kind of make sure that I keep this where I want it to be, I'm going to go into screen setup here. We've talked about this on this channel, and I'm going to lock this behavior. So no matter what happens, we always come back to it. All right, check out one of the previous videos. Backlog, here we go. All right, so show or hide the object inspector. We just did that. Let's go to page 913. We're gonna work with layers now. So we talked about the layer category. So there's that pop-up menu there, which allows me to look at all the various layers. The environment can quickly fill up with a large number of objects. To keep things organized, you can assign objects at different display levels, referred to as layers. Think of layers as being different partial views of the overall environment. You can easily connect objects between different layers. The distribution of objects across different layers has no effect on their functionality. It's simply a better way to organize objects. So how you move these things around has no effects on how they perform. We're just talking organization at this point. The name of the current layer is shown in the pop-up menu here. If you hit the up and down arrow menu, of course, you'll be greeted with more options. The position and existence of the first two layers, all objects and global objects, is protected. They cannot be deleted. Of course, if you create new layers, then you can. So let's go into this menu here, and you'll see that we can create all objects and global objects. These cannot be deleted. It cannot necessarily be said for the rest of the lot. So let's keep learning here. So all objects, literally all the objects that are in the environment, everything that's in your session can be displayed here. The object in this layer, they're normally shown as a list. To switch to the selected objects layer, choose options. Go to the layer of object in the environment. To switch to the selected object's layer, choose options, go to layer. Okay, so let's go options, go to layer of object. The environment that contains this object is currently displayed. Okay, so I don't know. Let me just select something else. Options, go to layer. I think this will fare better on maybe somewhere over here. So let's go, I don't know, physical input, options, go to layer. I guess, yeah. I just need an example because I'm not exactly sure. I don't know, maybe if I move the MIDI click over to this window, did you see how I just dragged it over? Maybe if I click on that and I go options, go to layer of object, this command is only useful in the all objects layer. Thank you very much. Appreciate you clarifying that. All right, so we're going to go up here, all objects, and I'll click on the click, no pun intended. Look how everything's being reflected in this other environment. I wonder if that's what the link button is for. I imagine it is. Yeah, it is. All right, so then let's say I want to select the input notes. All right, options, go to layer. There it is right there. All right, so that's a nice little workflow. Is there a key command for that? Didn't see it? No. Okay, let's keep moving and shaking. Global objects in this layer. You can place objects that you want to be visible in all layers. These objects appear at the same position in all layers. Try to assign as few objects as possible to this layer due to the on-screen clutter that global objects can create. All right, so you're looking at all layers, or all objects rather. Let's go to global. Okay, so I do not see anything there. What's the deal? Why? I wonder if I have to select something. I doubt it, but yeah, I don't know what this is for. You can place objects that you want to be visible in all layers. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So I don't know, maybe let me change this one to clicks and ports, I guess. And I want to see my physical input, or I guess all of this. Let me see if I could just select one. All right, so there it is inside of global. It's here. I guess if I go to MIDI instruments, will I see it? Yes. Okay. And if I go to mixer, will I see it? Okay, got it. So if there's something that you need to see all the time, go ahead and drag it into global. I'm going to Command Z that because I don't want to confuse myself. All right, let's go. Here we go. 914. Of course, we can create layers. All right, so let's just do that now. I'm going to go up here, create a layer. Let's call it rename test. All right. And then as we're just navigating here, I'm not going to talk about deleting. These are all, by this time, we all know how to do all this basic stuff, switching between layers, hitting the up and down arrow menu, then realizing that the pop-up menu comes up, you select the necessary view or layer. So that's all good. But I do want to say that there are some really cool things that you can create here. Arpeggiator tracks. There's some really, really interesting workflows, and I hope to learn more while we're here, to be honest. But yeah, I just don't want anybody to avoid it. It's a little bit complicated, I understand it, and it is for me too. But again, we still kind of have to carry on and just dissect it, even if it's piece by piece. So thus far, all the material has been easy. Really hasn't been that much, right? It hasn't gone over our heads. So let's kind of keep it here, keep reading, just be still, and let's figure out the rest here. So we know all the tools that are available to us can be shown here. The only new one that I can see to most of us is the MIDI through tool. So what does this do? It clicks an object with the MIDI through tool to assign the object to the selected track in the main window. So again, there's no example here, so I don't really know what that means. Maybe it has to do with reassigning. And actually, while I'm on that note, before I carry on here, let's say I have a MIDI note. Let me open up the Apple Loop browser, and I'll just pull this in. All right, cool. So most of us know this loop. If you have been playing with Logic long enough. Check it out. Okay, so if I go to, not test, because that's what I just created, right? But if I go to, I believe, let's just look at the mixer for right now. So we can see 12 string split. You've got the inspector on the left-hand side. There are things that you could turn on and off. You have some of the same parameters that you find in the region inspector, but of course this is specific to the object, as they like to call it here. And so let's say I wanted to reassign this. So now I'll open up and instantiate new tracks dialog. Okay, make sure you select software instrument, empty channel strip, or why don't we just select, I'll just select my default patch. I think it's a piano. Yeah. All right, so then I'm going to control click up here. All right, control click, reassign track. So now when you have assignable enabled inside of the object inspector here, okay, now you can reassign. So let's say I'm not digging the acoustic guitar sound. You can go to mixer, software instrument, piano, and check it out. It's actually a really cool loop. I've been thinking about this musically. I feel like this could be a really cool idea. Check it out. You play with the sustain and stuff, you can get a nice performance. But you see how I quite literally just reimagine that track. But let's hit Command Z really quick, because what's happening is that, okay, so right now you see, if you look at the environment, this is on the right hand side here. We have two, right? Two software instrument tracks, or what do they call them here? I believe it's let me see, MIDI instrument. I believe that's what it's called. Okay, so what happens is when I reassign this one in the background, right? We're not thinking about this, but all that's happened is that the assignment has moved here. Right, so if I click on that track, you can see that it's connected directly to default piano. If I go back to this one, it's really one and the same, right? If I click on this one, there really is no track for it because I've reassigned it. And to highlight that, you can see it says instrument 1 right here. Okay, if I click here, it says instrument 2. And so this one has been reassigned to instrument 2. How do I know? Because when I look at the tracks area, let me close the loop browser. Here, do me a favor, follow me. Track number 1. We go into not the region inspector on the top left here, but we go into the track inspector and check this out. What does it say? Instrument 2. And so there's a correlation happening, and it's showing you without necessarily telling you what's happening. Does that make sense? So if I look at the environment, and look at the environment inspector, we see that the channel is instrument 2, and that is corroborated when we have reassigned it. It's basically just using up that object in the environment. All right, let's keep going here. So we want to add an object, right? Choose an object type from the new menu. Click layer background with the pencil tool to do that as well. So say we want to start getting into it here. Not that I know what I'm doing, to be honest, but let's just give it a go, right? I understand at least the framework of Logic, so I can more or less get around. If you watched my chapter on the score editor, you know what I'm talking about. But we can create this way. Also, if I hit T and I hit P, I can click the background of a space and begin to create something in this manner. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to hit TT to bring me back. Let's continue on. Deleting, of course, use the eraser, all the things we know to do inside of Logic Pro. Probably underutilized are things such as going to the local menu, hitting edit, and then deleting here, or cutting, deleting, okay? Now, what's the difference between deleting and cutting? Well, if you delete something, it's gone, and if you cut something, it's essentially waiting to be pasted, as I understand it. All right, page 916. Now we're going to move and copy these objects. So again, you can grab the icon, the name, the position to the right of the object, in the case of keyboard and fader objects, then drag it to a new position in the layer. If you hold on shift, you can drag the objects to a new position in the layer. Beneficial in the case of keyboard and fader objects. Remember to first deselect any other objects, of course, because then you're going to move everything all at once. I still don't understand this part, but basically there's some kind of benefit to moving these to other layers. Again, still working and kind of figuring out how to do all this. I will say I have successfully been able to do things such as I have a circuit controller, which is like a MIDI controller here. Here, let me check you guys out. And I've been able to use one controller for, let's say, one software instrument. So there's ways to route things here where if you just want your keyboard to control pads, you can do that, but only in the environment. And I've been able to use the launch pad, which I have down here, to control, let's just say, bass or what have you. So there's some really cool things you can do, but you got to be patient. Again, don't be scared. Breathe, and we will get through it. All right, guys, if you're liking the content, just do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. Wanted to thank you so much for being here. It means the world to us that we get to do this with and for you. And so all we ask is that you go ahead and subscribe just to kind of keep helping this train move along. So thank you guys very much. Okay, let's carry on here. All right. So we know how to move these things. We can move between layers, right? So I can quite literally just grab this and just drag it up here if I wanted to, right? I showed you that earlier, right? Let me hit, oh, if I hit Command Z, will that go back? No, it won't. You have to do that manually, huh? All right, sweet. What else? Move objects between layers using the layer pop-up menu. If I hold Option, then we can move something over. Okay, this is exciting. So I'll select this MIDI click, right? I'll hold Option. As I click on, I don't know, let's do mixer. Boom. There it is right there. This is not any kind of trickery. We're just kind of following the instructions. You can see that that has been moved into a new layer. I'll hit Command Z. Does it actually follow? Not sure if, no, it's still there. So there's some things that work with Command C and there's some things that just simply do not. So just heads up. All right. We can copy and paste as well. Looks like edit, cut, edit, paste, that kind of thing. All right, you would choose a new destination, yada, yada. If any objects are selected when you try to paste, dialog asks if you want to replace. If you press return or click replace, the selected objects are replaced by the objects in the clipboard. Of course, the existing cabling remains intact. All right, guys, you want to copy something, Option drag it. Option drag it. I don't know. I guess I should select a different layer. Let's do test. All right. So what happens if I Option drag? Option drag. That's just okay, but I'm not seeing specific copying. Option drag with the pointer tool. I guess I'll try one more option here. Let me go to clicks and ports. Maybe I can copy, I don't know, this input view or something. Oh, there it goes. Sweet. So it works with some things. 917. Copy objects between layers by dragging. I showed you how to do that already. Hold on Option, then drag the objects into the second window. In my experience, oh, right. If you want to copy, if you just want to move, you don't have to hold Option. Correct. I'll take it. You could do copy C, copy V, adjusting the position, size, and objects. Looks like we can resize a couple things here. I love it. Love it. Fortunately, you can quickly clean up object positions. All right, how do we do that? View, snap positions. All right, let's go. View. Oh, that's already on. So it looks like that does some of the groundwork for us. So if I have snap positions on, I guess this is somehow helping up with our our organization. So check that out. Useful to leave the setting turned on. You should turn it off if you want to manually move an object by a few pixels. Something else to just keep in mind, if you want to use your arrow keys, I believe that these also are functioning. I could be wrong. Maybe this is with snap positions turned off. Hold on. No. There's something here that I need to get clear on. Okay, stand by. stand by. I know that works. I'm just I'm waiting for the correct order of things here. All right, so it looks like you can align objects as well. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Aligning objects. Where was that? Let me catch that. Hold on. Boom. Clean up. Line objects. Nothing happened. Okay. Try it out. Let me know if it works on your end. I guess I'll go. Yeah, I think this is probably the best place to do this in, and yet it's not working. I don't know. Should I just try and make a mess of it? Let's see what happens. We'll go options, clean up. Let's try align objects one more time. Nothing. Okay. Positions by grid. I kind of did something, but not really. And size by default. Nothing. All right. I'm sure there's some workability there. I just don't get at the moment. Choose options. Yep, we just did that. Okay, we can move things as mentioned. There is a key command, object move left. So let's go into option K and let's type in the word object to figure out this key command. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's option left, option right. And you can also move specific to pixels. So let's do option left, and then I'll do shift option, and we will figure this out. So here's option left. Okay, so you can see how I'm moving this, right, team? Yep. Okay, so let's go shift option left and right. So this is kind of resizing. That's pretty cool. I didn't know you could do that. See if I can make it bigger going left and right. Is that possible? Kind of. But yes, it's certainly becoming bigger this way. What if I click on this guy? Oh, you know what? This is actually a lifesaver. Hold on, let's see if it actually works. Yes, let's go. All right, why am I so elated about this? Some of you may think this is too much of a logic geek thing, but basically, because I have this MIDI interface, it's been really challenging to look at all these. You see how there's so many different ports, or not? That's the wrong word. MIDI connections. I'm not sure if that's even the right phrase, but I haven't been able to find an easy way. Let's see if I can resize this. So you see, when you resize it, it's a lot easier to look at. And then when I want to create some type of interesting routing or what have you, now I have a little bit more say in the matter because I can see what it is I need to see. For those of you that have a bit more simplified setup, you're not going to see all this. You're just going to see like one or two things. So anyway, that was cool. What else? Resize selected object to its default. Sweet, we checked that out. Advanced selection. Okay. Looks like you can move, copy objects faster and more easily using the following commands from the environment's edit menu. We can select use instruments. Cool. Let's try it. Edit. Select used. Okay. Looks like we're using all of this. I should probably have the mixer open. Seems like a good idea. Let's try this again. I guess I'll do it from down here. I'm sure it doesn't matter, but let's give it a go. Select used. All right, so it's showing me these two. If I deselect them, I'm going to try this one last time. Just trying to understand the workflow here. Select used. All right, and it's showing me everything here. Okay, so what am I getting here? Select all the objects that are assigned to the selected track in the main window or are connected to such objects via cables. And when they refer to cables, my good friends, again, they're just talking about the wiring that you can create. And there's purposes. We have some hard examples here that will get you across. So just give me a second. We can select unused instruments, not connected for some reason. I don't know. Maybe you change routing or something. Select cable destination. Why is this useful? And this is my favorite part when we do this right here. When we talk to our users and we give them specific instructions and illustrations. This is the best. Destination object is on a different layer. Okay, so then you would select cable destination. You use the function to select and display the destination object and layer. You can locate the destination object of a source object in the list display. View by text. Okay, so let's try that. View by text. Boom. Now we get another way of looking at this, right? Not as beautiful or what have you, but another way of looking at it. And so that can help if you're particularly trying to do some routing. But yeah, do remember that it's on a different layer and you can use the function to select and display the destination object. So select cable destination. This Let's see here. That was under, was it edit? I forgot. Select cable destination. So shift right arrow key. I guess a shift right arrow key. Okay, cool. Oh, that's nice. So it's kind of showing you the routing. So you see how I'm starting with my physical input, which is all things MIDI on my end, and then shift right arrow key. That where's that going? Oh yeah, that's going to the input notes, which is basically the notes, in music, but is not necessarily my MIDI controller per se, right? That's over here in physical input. All right, and then after that, when I play, you can see that it's reflecting. I'm playing either 127, which means I'm hitting the note, and when I let go, guess what? The same note is giving off another value, and that is MIDI 0, right? Velocity 0 means nothing, or if you want to look at it like aftertouch, it's on and off, on and off, on and off, right? All right, and then shift right arrow key one more time, sequencer, but that's the tracks area, that's here, right? If you delete this, game over, right? You got to start over. You got to restart the game because this is where it's all going. All right, invert selection. If you want to, you can select all the unselected objects. So why is that useful? Not sure, but I'll just show you what it does. If you click on that and then you hit Shift I, you select everything else. I'm sure at some point it becomes useful. We're going to cover creating your MIDI signal path after a word from our sponsors. How you doing? All right, so we're gonna get right back into it. Hopefully you're enjoying the content as always. If you can go ahead and subscribe, that would mean the world to us. It really is mano a mano, so just appreciate the love and just sharing the content. There's other people that need it. I know for sure that 7 years ago, I certainly needed it. And this is why I decided to kind of become the person that I am right now, is just to essentially be of service, be consistent, right, number one, and stay in action. It's really important. Want to help people learn how to, number one, navigate their DAW, in this case, Logic Pro. I have my assistant, Robert, helping people with Pro Tools, and I'm looking to grow and help other people in other DAWs. After you get the DAW down, right, like the back of your hand, what ends up happening that you have time, energy, resources, focus to focus on mixing and mastering. And that right there makes you a double-edged sword because you can kind of attack off, from every angle. So let's say you need a job, right? I don't know, maybe you work as an engineer somewhere, or maybe you tune vocals. Let's say somebody needs some troubleshooting help. You can consult. I've consulted companies, all sorts of stuff that you would never even think is possible. But when you have these two things, you truly are a triple threat when you become savvy with the business aspect of music, because it really is kind of a trinity, right? You have to connect the DW, the mixing and mastering, and then the business aspect to kind of make sure that all of this is moving the way it needs to, right? It's just like a locomotive. It's just moving. And so anyway, let's go into creating your MIDI signal path. If you have any questions, hit me up. But regardless, we're gonna get into it. So let's go. Creating MIDI signal path. What are we talking about here? So you can see this diagram. This is probably, if you have just a basic setup, or if you're just on a laptop, it should look something like that, right? All of the sum is going to the sequencer input, and that's logic basically. So it says here, before any MIDI events received or are received at your computer's MIDI inputs, before they can be recorded by Logic Pro, there must be a connection between two environment objects, the physical input on the one hand and the sequencer input on the other. So the physical input represents the MIDI import or ports of your MIDI interface. Again, some of them are complex, some of them are simple. Sequencer input objects represents the door into Logic Pro for incoming MIDI events. So it's either going to let them in or it's not, right? So these two things need to occur for your program to work. So again, for those of you that are medium, intermediate, advanced, if you learn this, this is just another tool in your arsenal. You can help out clients, right? You can look like such a wizard if you kind of know what you're doing, what you're talking about. or at the very least, you're guesstimating to the best of your ability, right? Logic Pro incoming MIDI events that arrive at the sequencer input objects are always directed to the selected track in the main window where they can be recorded. So again, it all starts here and it ends up in the tracks area. So they first have to be incoming here. They have to arrive at the sequencer input, and then they can be recorded, played back, etc. Or just to be clear, recorded, period. The events played by the MIDI region are mixed with incoming events, right? What are they talking about there? Maybe velocity, let's see, and sent to the environment object that the track is routed to. Okay, so I'm assuming they're talking about the mixer now. If you have any plugins, things like that. From here, the events are directed to a MIDI output. All right, you can insert objects into the signal path. What are we talking about here? There's some things that we can do in between the signal path. The most basic level, they're talking about a MIDI monitor object, right? When I was hitting the notes, remember we were looking at on and off, right? Which allows you to see incoming MIDI events, for example. You can also insert objects between the track and its destination object, enabling other kinds of processing, right? The track itself is not represented by an environment object, but you can use reassign track shortcut menu to route the track's output to an environment object. I showed you that a little bit earlier. MIDI region on a software instrument track routed to a mapped instrument, for example. So that is pretty basic. Let me just see what they're doing here. Choose new mapped instrument. In the tracks area, not in the environment, control click, reassign, then browse to the mapped instrument. I want to see this. I just want to see what it looks like, to be honest. So let me bring you guys in. Stay up, y'all. Here we go. All right, so we're here, and what did it say? New mapped instrument. Okay, so I'm going to go to new mapped instrument. Oh, what is this? Okay, see something new. I guess I'll just put it down here off to the side. So this is selected, and then what are you supposed to? In the tracks area, control click the track header to open reassign track shortcut. Okay, but I talk about this a lot, but I'm very like example based. It's like, okay, I understand you told me to do this, but what is this? What does it do? How do I utilize it? And I guess there's more to come, but I just want to be clear. Nothing was reflected in the tracks area, but I did talk to you about reassigning, so we're not going to go over that again. But just to reiterate, if you wanted to reassign this track number 3, right? So inside of the environment, it says channel audio number 1. So then if I reassign this, and actually, I'm just curious, what does it say if so I can just reassign this to instrument number 1, right? Which in this case is the instrument number 1, the acoustic guitar, 12-string split. That is, well, it looks like it's taken over. What happens if I play this? I'm just really curious now. Let's see. So yeah, basically, it looks like an audio track, doesn't it? Right? I mean, just because of the icon, in all fairness. So maybe if I just get rid of this. But we changed the object, and so hence it becomes a different tool of sorts, right? So if you wanted to, let me hit T, and let me hit Shift T, and let's just rename this, because this is not, I'll just call it test for now, right? That's probably a better way of looking at it. So again, this is not my world. This is not necessarily what I do, but I am a student of the game, and I do commit daily. I read daily. I watch reputable sources. I create reputable content. And so I'm here just a student of the game, and I'm having a conversation with you. All right, so this is good. In the environment, cable the mapped instrument to okay, so now they took it to another level, because I've never seen this, right? And originally we create something called mapped instrument, and that looked like that. I assume if I double click it, something happens. Nope. So this looks like something called multi-instrument. So this is something that does need to be updated, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. All I want to do is serve Logic Pro users all over the world, modern creatives that basically just have 2 hours, they get out of work and they really need the most effective information possible. And so they're like, man, who do I work with? Who do I follow? There's so many people, so many YouTubers, so many individuals out there. Who do I go to? Where do I go? Right? And so that's what I am working on, is just providing the most solid resources that stand the test of time. You guys know I've been number one the past 4 weeks on the Apple forum. It's been great. And now I'm just kind of shifting my attention to other places and creating some new resources for you that can assist you and support you on this journey. All right. So let's move on here. Hopefully we get some more information about what all this was. But in terms of assigning output connections, let's go. You can assign a direct output connection to a physical MIDI output. All right. So now they're talking about MIDI. So let's, and actually, wait, I just want to clear up one thing. Have you guys ever thought about this? It's called, and this is, I only know this because of the work of Edgar Rothermick. I was reading his chapter this morning as I prepared for this. And the MIDI environment is called MIDI environment. And it's really not a great name if you think about it, because we're not just using MIDI, right? And so please don't take this, don't interpret this the wrong way, because you're processing and you're using software instrument and audio, even though it's called MIDI environment. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Edgar Rothermick. If you please check out his work. GEM Manuals has the best manuals in the game. If you really want to learn the program, I do believe that they can help you. They can be a great resource for you. All right, so looks like we have instrument, multi-instrument, mapped, touch tracks, GM mixer, MIDI metronome. Click. Any objects with a direct output assignment is indicated by a white triangle. Cool. So that right there is telling us that we can create an output assignment, and the icon illustration on the right-hand side does not have this feature. So I guess if I go here and if I zoom in real tight, this one has a white, I guess I'll call it a disclosure triangle for right now, which means that it's assignable. We can send it somewhere. Huh? Okay. 921. Assign a direct output connection. Sweet. So all of it, I know, but did I miss this multi-instrument thing? I don't know if I did. I got to be honest, but let's go new multi-instrument. All right. So I'm just kind of following what's there. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but and nor do I understand its architecture. So I really feel like there's an opportunity here to really learn at the highest level, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity in that day. The port pop-up menu lists all MIDI outputs, including the following options. So when you hit off, it's going to disable the connection to the MIDI interface. So I think what they're referring to here is external software synths. Again, they haven't made it clear, but just being that it says 1 through 16, that obviously refers to MIDI channel 1 through 16. So yeah, just bear with me. We're doing this together, right? So we kind of have to take our time to have this conversation here. So routes the object's output to all available MIDI ports, useful if the device is sending a pulse. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're referring to like external drum or something like that. All right, keyboard environment objects in Logic Pro. All right, let's do this and then we'll call it a day, because I really like concrete examples. I'm pretty pragmatic on one side, and I really like it when 1 + 1 = 2, at least when I'm learning. But of course, when we're making music and producing and mixing other people's tracks and doing remixes and what have you, then of course 1 + 1 = 11 in that regard. The cabling between environment objects provides control over the entire MIDI signal path. Cable is normally shown as a gray or colored line. We talked about these. You can change to colored cable options. All right, if you go to View, Colored Cables, you can change that if you would like to. Let's continue on. If you want to connect two objects, you click and hold the triangle. Looks like it's represents a cable connection coming from the object's output into the destination, then release the mouse button. Cable connection is created between the two objects. If the source object has already been directly assigned to a MIDI output, dialog asks if you want to replace the direct assignment. You have 3 options: cancel, no, and remove. Connect two objects using key commands. Okay. I'm gonna option click the triangle of the source object. Okay, so I guess I'll option click right there. Option click. I don't see anything happening. Option click. Oh, I kind of saw it. Okay, so something happens there. Okay, and then it looks like you can connect it to something. So I guess just for now, because I really don't know what's going to happen if I connect it to multi-instrument, I'll just go to default. Okay, cool. So you see that right, and here's remove, don't remove, and cancel. Is that what we got here? Looks like the wording has changed a little bit, but I'm sure the principles are all the same. So I'm going to hit no. The connection is made, but the direct output assignment remains intact. So let's hit, I guess, you want to remove the channel strips ports. I guess I'll hit don't remove. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so now this is connected, but again, because I still don't have much information about this, we're still kind of figuring out what it is and what it does, but that's how you would connect it that way. What's up? Okay, connect two objects. Good, we just showed how to connect in that way. You want to option click the small triangle, okay? Removing cable connections, eraser. All right, so let's just try that really quick. T, E, selecting, and clicking. Okay. Let me hit TT. So just quick side note, you have independent tool menus for each environment window, that one and that one, respectively. You can make multiple connections as well. Once an output from an object is used, another output is automatically appearing. Okay, so yeah, I guess basically once you connect it to something, then there's an output if you want to connect it to something else, a third output, yada yada. Some objects have special outputs and cannot be connected this way. One example is a channel splitter object. Features several functionality different outputs. Other special objects include cable switchers. Okay, we'll find out what this does. Physical input objects. With these objects, each output can only be used once. All right, routed the signal of a special object. All right, create a monitor object. So if you want to see monitor object, we go back to layer, clicks and ports. That is it right there, input view. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Let's go to new. Where's the monitor? Down here. All right. And so then I'll click here, connect it there. So that's created a relationship. And then of course this has to go to the sequencer, right? In order for everything to work the way it needs to. And there goes that. And then if I remember this key command correctly, shift option up arrow key, I can create a better screen for myself. And if I just hit right and left, I think, yeah, sweet. So of course this has nothing to do with routing or sound or anything. You're just looking at it. Why would you have to? I don't know. I just created it for you just to see what it looked like. So yeah, this is a monitor object. Create a cable from the monitor object to as many other destinations as you wish. Something that I should say before our time is done here is that this, from what I remember, this is the only workflow that allows me to check out. Here, let me delete this so I can show you what I'm saying. I don't. You see, I'm trying to play right now, but you see how it's not like playing anything. That's because I've basically disconnected the spark plugs in the engine or something. I don't really I don't know that much about cars. I know some, but not that much. But basically, the engine's not going to work until you kind of have routed everything properly. And then now we can in effect get this going, right? Okay, so let me go ahead and delete test. Let's see how I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Please delete, thank you very much. And it shows up in the tracks area as no output, but we don't need it, so that's good. But unless the playhead is moving, certain things are not gonna work. So I just wanna be clear about that. So for example, if I go to new, arpeggiator, for example, right? And I'm like, yeah, cool. I want to use this thing in between, not as a MIDI effect, right? But like in my channel. So I'm going to route this to the arpeggiator. Boom. And then I'm going to hit TE, and I'll basically erase this guy. So then let me hit TT. Good. All right, so listen to this. Nothing's happening. Yay. Why? Who knows? Because this needs to be connected to the sequencer input. And then now check this out. You're thinking, well, what's going on? Why isn't it working? Well, let's see. If I press play, you would think it'd be working, but it has to be in between. So that's kind of the thing, is you have to figure out how to route this in between. Let me see if I did that. I think there's 2 wires there, so I may have to erase those. So hold on, let me see. There you go. Okay, cool. Let me hit Command Z. Yeah, sweet. TT. Oh, wait. Okay, so now check this out. So you see how that's happening, and I don't even have a MIDI effect, which that's most of us, that's how we would create this effect. You're actually creating your own instruments, and that's why this is useful. Again, I don't claim to know everything about the program, the student first here, but just so you understand who I am, I work with LearnQuest, who's an Apple training provider, and I train people all over the world. We're doing great things to service a lot of Logic Pro power users, and I'm looking forward to you getting the resources that you need to take your game to the next level. So this is Eddie Gray signing off. The next time I see you, we will be working through the environment, talking about cables in series. What else? We're going to be exchanging environments. So if you have a setup, maybe there's a session or 2 where you did something interesting, you want to import that, you absolutely can, among other things. So go ahead and stay tuned, and go ahead and hit that notification bell, because when we come on, we want to make sure that we are live with you and we are connecting in real time. So hey, thank you very much. I'm going to get out of here. I have a mix for a client, so let's get to work. All right, guys, take care.